Mr. Chabot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Floyd and Ms. Jacobs, it took tremendous courage for both of you to come here today when you're still grieving the loss of your brothers. I hope we can honor their memory by enacting meaningful reforms that prevent future senseless acts of violence and begin a healing process that makes us a stronger, more unified nation. I also want to thank the other witnesses for appearing today and helping us to determine what changes ought to be made. We must enact reforms that ensure accountability for police misconduct, not defund or dismantle police departments. I represent the 1st Congressional District of Ohio, which includes most of the city of Cincinnati. Nearly 2 decades ago, in 2001, an African-American young man named Timothy Thomas was fatally shot by a police officer in the Over-the-Rhine neighborhood in Cincinnati. Following protests and civil unrest, unfortunately including rioting, police representatives, community leaders, and city and federal officials entered into something called the Collaborative Agreement with the goal of building a positive, constructive relationship between the Cincinnati Police Department and the neighborhoods that they serve. Reaching the agreement required everyone involved putting aside their political agendas and working together. What did the Collaborative Agreement do? Well, it addressed use of force situations, called for de-escalation training for the police, body cameras, and formed a citizen complaint authority, among other things. Once the framework of the agreement was in place, then Senator Mike DeWine, who's now our governor, then Congressman Rob Portman, who's now in the Senate, and I worked closely together to help secure the federal funding needed to implement its provisions. The results haven't been perfect, but we've seen a dramatic improvement in Cincinnati police-community relations. Trust and goodwill have been restored. Arrests and serious crimes have decreased in Cincinnati. Excessive use of force by police officers has also decreased, as has violence against police officers. Perhaps most importantly, when problems do arise, they're handled in a predominantly civil, respectful manner due to years of cooperation and direct, honest communication between the police and our communities. Given the success we've had in Cincinnati, perhaps the Collaborative Agreement could be the starting point for other cities across the country who need to repair police-community relations. The process required to craft such an agreement can lead to better communication, understanding, and if undertaken seriously, greater respect between all parties involved. Mr. Bongino, I'll start with you if I can. Is this the direction that you think perhaps American cities ought to move towards if they want to improve police-community relations?
I think it's a terrific idea. I can tell you the sheriff in Martin County, where I live and reside now, has made a concerted effort to do outreach before there's a problem. Now, having said that, those collaborations can and do work. The problem I see during my experience as a police officer, or saw, as I should say, back in the late 90s, is you can develop all the relationships you want. They can be very productive and friendly, and but if they become omnidirectional, one way, not omnidirectional, but one way instead of bidirectional, you're not going to get anywhere. What I mean by that is if people are afraid to go to those contacts in the police department that they've made and established relationships with because the local drug dealer basically has them under constant threat and effectively house arrest, you're going to get nothing out of that. Again, let me just be crystal clear. It's a terrific idea. There is nothing but positive externalities to be generated from that. But if you can't establish a framework of safety and security, it's not going to be a bidirectional relationship, and it'll be useless. Citizens have to be able to come forward to the contacts they made knowing they're not going to be attacked or criminalized later on or retaliated against. That security comes first.
Thank you very much. And let me just conclude with this. We need to find a better way to interact as a society, to work with each other and have the police and the communities that they work with actually work together and talk. We need to put aside our differences and listen to each other and focus on those things that unite us rather than divide us. And finally, we owe it to our children and our grandchildren, to the future of this nation, to dedicate ourselves to the principle that all men and all women are created equal. And again, I want to particularly thank Ms. Underwood-Jacobs and Mr. Floyd for being here today, and really all the witnesses. Hopefully, we can have both parties working together to actually accomplish something here and not just point fingers and blame the other side. So let's hope we can do that. And you've helped to bring that together today. So thank you very much. I yield back.